Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome all. Thank you for joining us this beautiful afternoon for a campus update. It's wonderful to see so many of you here in person, and of course, our colleagues who could not be here in the ballroom, but are joining us in Mundo Zoom. Welcome. It's wonderful to have you all here. I will begin by sharing a number of university highlights. Next, we will hear updates on enrollment and student onboarding from Dr. John Drew, Vice Chancellor for Enrollment, and Dr. Karen Ferrer Muniz, our Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. Karen joined us over the summer, and we are so thrilled to have her as the newest member of our leadership team. To give you a feeling for the transformational leadership Karen is bringing to Columbia Point, listen to this email I received recently from a student. Quote, "I am amazed by your humility in having such an official role. When I saw you during the first week of classes, standing by the cafe, passing out information to students, I knew the university made the right choice. That was only confirmed for me today, seeing you seamlessly blended into the sea of students." Karen, bienvenida y muchas gracias por todo lo que hace. Following the enrollment and student onboarding presentation, our Provost, Dr. Joseph Berger, and Deputy Chancellor Garrett Smith will provide an update on our strategic plan for the next decade. Kathleen Curlis, our Vice Chancellor for Administration and Finance, will then provide a financial update before we conclude with a question and answer session. University highlights. First, welcome to our new deans. I am so pleased to recognize 3 new deans who have joined the UMass Boston community in the last 2 months. Dr. Bo Fernald is our new Dean of the Manning College of Nursing and Health Sciences and Professor of Exercise Health Science. He previously served for 11 years as Dean of the College of Applied Health Sciences at the University of Illinois, Chicago. Welcome, Dean Bo. I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Venki Venkatachalam, our new Dean of the College of Management and Distinguished Professor of Management Science and Information Systems. He previously served for 8 years as Dean of the Beacom School of Business at the University of South Dakota's flagship campus. Welcome, Dean Venki. Dean Stephanie Walker is our new Dean of University Libraries and comes to us from the University of North Dakota, where she served as Dean of Libraries and Information Resources for the past 7 years. Welcome, Dean Stephanie. Chancellor's Staff Achievement Awards. Last month, before the semester began, we recognized and honored 2 outstanding staff members for their extraordinary service to our community. Congratulations once again to Zach Ronald, Echo 360 Administrator and Academic Technology Specialist, who received the Chancellor's Achievement Award for Classified Staff. Congratulations as well to Dee Brittany Mitchell, Knowledge and Translation Manager at the Institute for Community Inclusion, who received the Chancellor's Achievement Award for Professional Staff. Both Zach and Brittany were richly deserved recipients, and a big thank you to them and all the nominees for their inspiring dedication to our university, to our mission, to our students. President Biden's visit to Columbia Point. As you know, we had a distinguished visitor to Columbia Point earlier this month. My thanks to all of you for pivoting to a remote instruction day. We very much appreciated your flexibility and collaboration in making this a smooth transition, and our neighbors at the JFK Presidential Library were very, very grateful as well. On that day, President Biden, we were honored. I was particularly honored to have 6 of our own student leaders represent UMass Boston at the President's historic speech, in which President Biden launched his Cancer Moonshot Initiative and marked the 60th anniversary of President Kennedy's Moonshot Address. It was a great honor and privilege for me to personally speak with President Biden and proudly wave the beacon flag on behalf of our entire community. In addition to President Biden, I also had the opportunity to exchange words with members of his cabinet, including Secretary of Labor Marty Walsh, no stranger to Boston and a good friend of UMass Boston, as well as members of our congressional delegation. I also had the opportunity to catch up with Mayor Michelle Wu, to meet White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. Thanks to the efforts of Phil Carver and Matt Fanlon, I look forward to hosting Secretary Walsh, Mayor Wu, Attorney General Maura Healey on our campus over the coming months so that we can continue to collaborate with them on behalf of our university, on behalf of our students. Convocation. Esteemed alumna Gina McCarthy. Many of you joined us for our convocation on September 14th, in which the Honorable Gina McCarthy was our featured speaker. As I said to Gina recently, her remarks were on point, engaging, authentic, and inspiring. Her journey as a proud UMass Boston graduate, a distinguished public servant and advisor to governors and presidents, and global leader on the existential issue of our times, climate change and the environment, offers an exemplary pathway for her fellow beacons to lead consequential lives as professionals and engaged citizens. Hers is a story that will continue to inspire our students for decades to come, and I look forward to connecting with her soon to discuss how she can continue as an integral member of our Beacon community. Citizenship Day 2022 at the State House. Finally, it was a great honor to represent UMass Boston just 2 weeks ago at a special historic ceremony on Citizenship Day or Constitution Day. This day commemorates the development and signing of the Constitution on September 17th, 1787. The day also recognizes and celebrates all who, by coming of age or by naturalization, become citizens of the United States. I had the immense honor of serving as the featured speaker at Citizenship Day naturalization ceremony at the historic Massachusetts State House. 39 years after I attended that same ceremony in California and became a citizen myself, I was so moved to congratulate 49 of our newest fellow citizens. Furthermore, I'm very pleased to share with you that UMass Boston will host this naturalization ceremony next year. As the third most diverse university in the country, where our students hail from 136 different countries, and just over half of them speak more than one language at home, it is only fitting that our campus will host such a meaningful ceremony and momentous rite of passage in the lives of new citizens and their families. I am sure you will join me in looking forward to this event in 2023. Doctors Drew and Dr. Ferrer Muniz, I turn the program to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chancellor, and thank you for everyone for attending and getting a bit of an enrollment update. I invite those of you who are standing in the back, there's plenty of seats at the front. If you want to set a good example for our students, please feel free to come on up. So I have the honor to provide a bit of a campus enrollment update, and before I get into some of the specifics around our campus numbers, I think it's helpful to set the stage and understand the larger landscape and take a bit of a historical tour of what's been happening. If you read any articles in any journals or newspapers, it's been tough for higher education, specifically around enrollment. Over the past 10 years, there's been a decline in enrollment nationally. There are certainly some bright spots, but overall, there has been a pretty consistent decline in enrollment. That was only made worse by the past 2 years in COVID. The past 2 years, nationally, we saw a 2% decline in enrollment, both in fall 2020 and fall 2021. That is the national landscape in which we are operating. And you can see from some of the headlines that we are showing here, there have been challenges with community college enrollment that have experienced real declines, and many that are questioning the value of a college degree. I have one more doom and gloom slide, and then I promise we're going to get to some good news story. We also know, in following the trends, that there's demographic shifts that we have to be aware of. And I think those are made worse by where we're located in the New England area. We know that over the next 10 years or so, there'll be at least a 12 to 15% decline in the number of high school graduates. That is a result of the 2008 recession and a drop in birth rates. The New England area is actually leading the charge a little bit, unfortunately, in that decline in public and private high school graduation rates dropping. And so in Massachusetts, for example, over the next couple of years, we'll experience a 2% drop. But that map of the US will, over the next 8 to 10 years, will pretty much become all red with the decline in high school graduation However, we have a lot to be proud of here at UMass Boston. We have been able to generate tremendous interest during these difficult enrollment times. A milestone we hit in undergraduate admissions is first-year applications exceeding or just reaching 20,000 applications. For some perspective, that is a 74% increase in applications since just 2018. And so that is certainly a bright spot for us. Our incoming first-year class is once again one of the largest classes we'll be welcoming to the institution, 2,440. You're going to hear about all the activities that they've been engaged with, but we're very excited that it represents a 9% increase over last year's incoming first-year class. We have seen increases in all residencies, in-state, out-of-state, and international, and I'm happy to report that our international students who experienced tremendous challenges during COVID, not being able to travel here, thankfully we've been able to see those numbers return to pre-COVID pandemic numbers. And so we have seen growth in that population this year as well. We've also seen growth in our transfer numbers, and as I spoke just a moment ago, it's a very difficult market, and the community colleges across Massachusetts have experienced challenges with their enrollment. And so we are proud of the fact that this year our transfer class coming in will match last year's, which was up from the previous year. And so this tremendous amount of work goes into welcoming transfer students and helping them make the transition. And also in new masters, we have a 3% increase in new master candidates this year. And again, our international market came roaring back, and we saw a real increase in our international students that are interested in a few particular programs within our master's programs, which we're excited about. However, with all those bright spots, there are still areas that we are going to be focused on. In a moment, you're going to hear about our strategic plan, and you'll see that one of the first priorities is around holistic student success. The orange bar charts here represent our incoming classes. If you look over the past 5 years, everything that is to the right of that red line, we have seen pretty consistent incoming large classes for our master's and undergraduate new students. However, our continuing student enrollment has not been able to keep pace, and that will really be a focus, and you'll hear more about the many initiatives that are underway and will be over the next 10 years as our strategic plan guides us to help support continuing student enrollment. So it's definitely an area that we need to focus on, as many institutions have experienced challenges with retention. So a few specific numbers that I'm going to leave you with. Our total UMass Boston headcount, 15,586 strong beacons. Very excited about that. That is very consistent with last year's headcount. Breakdown is 12,221 undergraduate students and 3,365. There are so many numbers that we could report on, and I'm always happy to sit down and talk numbers with anyone, but a couple that I did want to highlight for you. 333 student athletes. We're very proud of having them back on campus and playing at a high level. 64% of our new undergraduates identify Black, Indigenous, people of color. So our diversity is strong and has been very consistent over the years. 52% of our incoming first-year class is first-generation students. Again, a group that we are committed to providing support for. And approximately 600 students in our honors college. So this just gives you a few highlights for you to be aware of as we take a snapshot of our enrollment for fall 2022. So we brought in a strong class. We're excited about it. Hopefully you're feeling the energy throughout the halls. I certainly am. We saw it at the barbecue. We've seen it at weekend events. And so now it is my honor to turn it over to Karen, our new Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, to talk about all the activities they've been involved in.
Thank you, John, and thank you for the warm welcome that I have received not only from our Chancellor and my colleagues, from every single one of you as I've continued to visit some of your spaces on campus. I'm so happy to be, and so proud and totally honored to be a beacon and part of this community. My pride keeps growing every single moment because of your pride, and I continue to encourage you to share that pride, to be a beacon. And any new beginning is essential for the success of our endeavors. As we continue to advance our efforts to provide a strong foundation for new beacons and their transition into our campus community. Now I'm happy to share with you more information about what has been done this summer and the ongoing support to our students. The first type of support was this orientation, was summer. Orientation represents a foundation for a positive and successful UMass Boston experience. This past summer, thanks to many of you in this room and in this building and in the community, UMass had 16 orientation sessions, including first time new format of overnight sessions. There was a strong participation on the ground and represented nearly by more than 3,500 students in attendance. Data for these summer sessions show that students who participating in these experiences increased their confidence that UMass actually was the right choice for them, and they share that with us. One cohort of students received a very special orientation, our student athletes, as my colleague shared with you, the growing cohort of the student population. And this provided them, thanks to all the coaches and Jackie who took the leadership, a better community, a greater understanding of their resources on campus, which is really important for retention of our students. As we opened this year, we opened with full resident halls, full schedule events, and on the residence hall, more than 15 specific events just for residence halls, the most since we opened those buildings. We also began a year with full staff of student resident assistants. These RAs work really hard along the lines with living professional staff to build a community and a wraparound support for students in our living campus community. So in addition to care for every single student, especially new students, here's some highlights that I want to show with you to general student support. More than 40 Welcome Week events were offered the past few weeks, in which we estimate that 6,000, 2,000 memories were created. Each memory is based on a feeling and a connection to our community, and it definitely builds the sense of community and sense of belonging of each of our students. As we continue, community health is the forefront in our minds, so the community and the university health services continues to be a focus on our safety. We have begun offering bivalent COVID-19 boosters, These are boosters that are targeted to offer protection against the most recent subvariants. Please visit our My Health Beacon portal for a booster clinic detail or for the details of our flu shots clinics this semester. So also, support for mental health in our community is extremely essential. With our national mental health challenges in mind, we have stepped up our outreach for counseling. We have 24/7 individual crisis intervention, and that phone number is 617-287-5660. You can see also that we have some tents on tables and stickers around campus as well, as we continue to promote students to use these services 24/7. Counseling Center has launched 5 groups, including anxiety and depression support. And please, for more details, connect with the website in case you need to refer a student or a staff and a faculty. Please continue to make progress through the connection of student referrals. As we continue to elevate our ability to support students' sense of belonging, we also hire our founding director of student multicultural affairs. So please, if you see our new spaces, we'll be sort of looking at their space and our new director evaluating our spaces as well. Also, UAccess have served twice many clients in the first 2 weeks this semester. More than last year, 2021, on the first 2 weeks, we have doubled the cases of students. So while the donations of the main chains of supplies in Boston area are also low, we continue to manage to provide for these students. So if you want to donate, please go to the UAccess webpage. There is a list of needed items as well. Let me share a little bit about the future of student support and life development initiatives at UMass Boston. While this is just my first semester here, I have discussed many with my team and beyond with some of you as well. Our collective work for student support should include a long-standing commitment to student success through new collaborations among all divisions, should create and maintain student success efforts that promote equity, inclusion, health, wellness as a common core for all of us. Should enhance the student belonging, that sense of belonging that I just mentioned, because each beacon may feel and should have the opportunity to shine their light. That includes their individuality and uniqueness in our communities. And finally, we should grow engagement and continue to support and develop co-curricular learning to support the work in our academic areas and further help prepare students for their careers through the power of experiential learning and connect student life through that. And this is probably my end of my summary. As I continue to work throughout the year, I welcome anyone who would like to let me know any questions or concerns. I would like to introduce now the next part of our agenda. Our Deputy Chancellor, Garrett Smith, will be in charge of our next agenda item, which is our new strategic plan for UMass Boston.
Good afternoon. So I received a text message this morning from Provost Joe Berger that said, "Best day of the year. Are you ready?" I thought, yeah, I'm ready, but for what? Then Karen's Instagram was blowing me up, and it was like, "Greatest day of the year. Are we ready?" And I thought, ready for what? And so I figured, well, what's the best day of the year at UMass Boston? What's the day I feel most connected to the mission? That it becomes really clear to me what I'm here for and what we're all here for. It's graduation day. So I scurried around. I got my fake robes as if I had a PhD. I got my hat. I got all ready to go for graduation day. I usually don't have a speaking role at graduation day. And I came over to this session. And I have to admit, I'm a little embarrassed now. Because if I was going to speak, I had a graduation speech ready to go. But nonetheless, this is a historic day and a super, super exciting day. It is not graduation day, but I think it is something that can help us feel like it's graduation day every day, and that's the launch of our new strategic plan. So today we announced the launch of For the Times, our new strategic plan for UMass Boston 2022 to 2032. Yes, yes, super exciting. Okay, so the strategic plan exists in two forms, just to get to logistics. There's a PDF or a printable 15-page document, and it exists also on the website in a clickable format. I would encourage, we're just going to touch on some of the content this morning, so I would encourage everyone to go interact with the plan, give it a read, spend some time with it, and think about how you can integrate your own work, how you can contribute to the unfolding of this plan over the next few days, over the next year, and over the next 10 years, in whatever role it is that you have on this campus. The website is here on the slide as well. It's just /strategic plan. A quick reminder. We spent a year. We formed 11 strategic planning committees. We had a whole host of focus groups and listening sessions, data collection, SWOT analysis, which all led to a set of recommendations that were made last spring. We spent the spring integrating those recommendations, synthesizing into one plan, gathering feedback from the campus community so that this summer we could put the finishing touches on the design and the content and launch for you here at the beginning of the school year. So just a reminder that there was a lot of process here. This was truly a collaborative effort. I would say, for all those who served on a committee, if you could stand up wherever you're on Zoom, or if you're in the room, please stand up if you served on a committee. And let's thank them. Thank you, everyone, for the tremendous effort. Okay, another process note. When you open the document, do not expect it to be super detailed. Do not expect it to be comprehensive. Do not expect it to have a full implementation plan. It is 15 pages. That includes a cover page. That includes a one-page at the end with just pictures on it. And so this is a framework. This is meant to be a guiding document for our work for the next 10 years. You can expect implementation planning to come. You can expect to see metrics, owners, near-term priorities, all that critical stuff that comes with implementation. But you're not going to see it in this document, which is meant to be a guiding framework that is readable and consumable for everyone. We've already heard that the 15 pages is too long for some. But again, this is, we'll probably publish an executive summary also, but this is just meant to be a framework. Please keep that in mind. I think for me, one of the ways that this work connects to things like graduation day is when I read the mission and the vision. And the whole plan hangs off of the mission and the vision, which have been refined and updated for this strategic plan. So I'm not going to give you a dramatic reading, but I think there's a lot of stuff that you'll remember in here that brought you to the university, that keeps you at the university, that makes you proud of the university in this vision statement, in this mission statement. So if you're like me, you will print this out, put it in your wallet, put it next to your workspace, the mission, the vision, so that you can remember why every day is like graduation day with this new plan in place. And it's just super exciting. Thank you to one of the committees that worked incredibly hard was the Mission and Vision Committee. And I think this updated vision is really reflective of the aspirations that we have for this great university. I'm going to turn it to Joe for a few moments.
Thank you, Garrett. So as Garrett was saying, the mission and the vision really are the anchors for this strategic plan. In particular, the mission statement, a new mission statement for us that builds on our proud history, that recognizes the values and the principles that are embedded throughout the rich wealth of talent, commitment, and dedication that we have in our community, and is a springboard for the future that allows us, as we chart new courses forward, to remain on course, understanding who we are and why we do what we do. Again, I'm not going to read this mission statement, but the amount of thought, effort, and input that went into making sure that we have an updated mission statement for the times that represents the very best of who we are at UMass Boston is incredibly important, and we're very proud of it. It is, as Garrett noted, the foundation for our 5 strategic priorities. And these 5 strategic priorities don't stand alone. They're not 5 separate, disparate priorities. There is a coherent relationship among these priorities, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that. I do want to say, that the first time I had a chance to talk publicly about these emerging strategic priorities was at the new faculty orientation earlier this month. And one of the themes in the new faculty orientation, was we were talking about using our heads and our hearts and our hands to do our work. And I think that that's an appropriate way to think about the strategic plan and these strategic priorities. We've used our heads to really think about what needs to go into a strategic plan. What is it that we need to prioritize so that we can be the architects of our own destiny, going forward in challenging times, to leverage and take advantage of the diversity and the wealth of talent that is our student body, that is our community, that is our staff, that is our faculty. But it is with our heart that we dedicate ourselves to these priorities and the mission-driven values embedded within them. And it is our hands. It is the work that we are going to do to realize the ambitions of the mission and vision statement through these strategic priorities. So the top row here with the three first strategic priorities represent different aspects of our core mission. First and foremost, and I'm intentionally saying first and foremost, is holistic student success. We do not exist without our students. They are the reason we are here as a university. We have the privilege of engaging in all sorts of other work, but our students are at our core. And working together, we have the responsibility, the obligation to make sure that we are promoting student success for all of our students, undergraduate, graduate, degree, non-degree, no matter what background they come from, no matter where they come from. But we are also a research university. Research matters. The ways in which we engage with and produce rigorous knowledge that is relevant to real-world challenges and opportunity matters. And it matters that we must be impactful with that research. We are a public research university, so impact matters. And we are for the city. We are not just any university anywhere. We are based here on Columbia Point, in Dorchester, in Boston. We are in a city that has more university students than any other in the country, that has more colleges and universities than any other region in the nation. We are the only public research university. And we were founded to engage with, to work with, to learn with the communities of Boston. And so we dedicate our service, our engagement efforts to the city of Boston. This does not preclude us from working at all other levels of community. We proudly serve the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the region, the nation, the world, and have great partnerships and collaborations at all levels. But we have no integrity if we are not focused on the work that we do right here in our place-based home, Boston. But in order to realize the ambitions of these first three strategic priorities, we need to recognize that people matter. And so enriching our human core, making sure that we are paying attention to valuing, celebrating, and promoting each of us in our individual contributions, but also all of us in our collaborative contributions together to advance the mission and the vision of UMass Boston. And where we do it matters, reimagining campus space. How we enhance and better utilize our increasingly beautiful campus, but also how we recognize that there is a wealth of opportunities to expand and extend the campus, to be expansive within the city of Boston. Across these strategic priorities are four cross-cutting commitments. Each of these doesn't stand alone either. They are the threads that weave throughout the fabric of the strategic priorities to make sure that everything we do is related to our teaching, research, and service mission. I, like so many others, have come to and remain proudly at UMass Boston because we have a long history and commitment to equity, social justice, diversity and inclusion, and are working hard to be a leading anti-racist and health-promoting institution. That's more important now than ever. And though we have a strong tradition, we have no laurels to rest on. We must continuously improve in this area and others. As we are a city, university for and of the city, community collaboration, reciprocal engagement with our community matters. And in everything we do, we must have operational excellence. The ability to perform at our best, to provide the structures and supports that people need to succeed in their work, in their learning, and their knowledge production requires operational excellence. I'm going to go very quickly, because we don't have much time, through each of the strategic priorities. Holistic student success. First and foremost, we have to ensure that we have equitable academic outcomes. That all of our students, as I said before, no matter what their background, where they come from, that they have equitable opportunities to succeed, and that we value the cultural wealth that our students bring to campus, as they not only learn from the faculty, as they not only benefit from the support of the staff, but they learn from each other. So we need to deepen, right, our recruitment and retention strategy so that more students can come and benefit from a UMass Boston education, and so that in doing so that they thrive and they succeed. We have to be honest when we look at the evidence. We need to do better at student success. And so we are doubling down, all hands on deck, that we are putting together multiple vehicles to improve student success so that we can have multiple pathways to and through UMass Boston. From early college, dual enrollment, other pathway programs, but then pathways within the curriculum, within and across majors, across different levels of degrees, and then on out into the community in terms of the future workforce and citizens of Boston. This is just an example of some of the near-term activities and initiatives that we're engaging in to promote student success. The strategic plan, as a document, is very linear. So we want to make sure that we all understand that each of our activities and initiatives are interconnected. There's no one big lever that we're going to press that's going to enhance and promote student success. It's all of these things working together. Impactful research and scholarship is driven by 3 key strategies to strengthen our research enterprise. We've already begun that. Things like this year, we're significantly increasing the staffing for ORSP. We're launching Koali so that we have better technostructure to support it, but also to accelerate interdisciplinary scholarship, because the real-world challenges and opportunities that our scholarly expertise must inform requires that we transcend any one discipline or field, and that we put our shoulders together to see farther than we have before. And so we're going to invest in 4 grand scholarly challenges. These have been identified as broad challenges that we have unique strengths here at UMass Boston to address, that are specific enough for us to be able to contribute to addressing these challenges, but that are broad enough to draw from across the breadth of scholarly expertise that we have here on campus. So this includes climate equity and urban coastal areas, bridging divides in health equity from cells to society, education for the future, and advancing a just society, local and global dimensions. And you'll be hearing more about some of the vehicles that we'll be implementing to help advance these grand scholarly challenges. And so now I'm going to turn it back over to Garrett, who's going to finish up talking about the last 2 priorities and what comes next for the strategic plan. Thank you.
So I think the provost really framed this perfectly, and so I'm not going to actually add very much. You've gotten a taste of what's in the plan. I would encourage you to read it. think about it, internalize it, and begin to apply it to your work within your day-to-day in your division, in your classroom, in your learning, research, et cetera. And I'll just remind you, this is not an implementation plan. Implementation planning is coming. Joe touched on some of the priorities within student success, holistic student success, and you should expect to see more in the coming days, the coming weeks, the coming months. The vice chancellors and deans are hard at work identifying near-term priorities and plans for implementing them. So with that, we have launched For the Times, our great strategic framework for the next 10 years. We are super, super excited. And Joe talked a little bit about the how the first three strategic priorities are supported by the other two, by our people and by our facilities. Well, they're also supported by another critical piece of infrastructure, which is the budget. And so I will turn it over to Vice Chancellor Kathleen Kierleis to give some budgetary updates.
Thank you, Garrett. I will take this time to provide a brief financial update to the campus. First of all, I'm going to start with preliminary results for fiscal 22. The university is currently in the process of closing out the year for the prior year, and we'll be submitting our final audited financial statements to the Commonwealth for inclusion in the state's comprehensive annual financial report in October. Whoops, wrong way. Overall, there's very good news to report for fiscal 22. Through the efforts of many, including many in this room, we were able to end the year with a positive operating margin of $4.5 million or 0.9%. Our grant activity last year was the highest on record for the university at $63.5 million. I was going to invite the audience to please join me in a large round of applause for all who are in Boston's Public Research University who are involved with that achievement. It really is well done, so thank you. I would submit to you that the biggest driver of fiscal 22's results were the use of one-time funds as we navigated our way to returning to campus after operating remotely from the pandemic. These one-time funds allowed us to return back to campus with much of our existing infrastructure in place and that we needed to be live, even though a lot of the revenue that was needed to support such activities had yet to fully return. We had $37.5 million of one-time federal HERF money that supported our campus last year, and it was deployed in three major ways. First, there was $18.7 million that went for direct aid to students, including retention grants. Next, we had $12.1 million of lost revenue. This was to help areas to recover who are still experiencing shortfalls of revenue as compared to pre-pandemic levels because we weren't able to be on campus fully. And last, we had $6.2 million of funds that were used to discharge student balances to help students get back on their feet financially and put some of the debt of the college education behind them. The university also benefited from one-time funds from FEMA, with much of that $2 million that we received as reimbursement for roof repairs that were necessary after Hurricane Sandy blew the roof off of the Healy Library, as well as some targeted COVID-type related reimbursements. On the revenue side, tuition and fees were lower than originally budgeted due to lower than planned enrollment levels, but that we knew about early last fall, so we were able to take the time to be able to update our budget plan and address them. The state built on its support from prior years and appropriated not only the money that they had done in prior years, but $6 million of additional money, primarily to fund collective bargaining agreements that were negotiated during the year. Thank you to all the numerous union and university bargaining teams who worked so diligently to reach these agreements so that then they could then be forwarded to the legislature for funding for further support for our university. On the expense side, expenses increased as collective bargaining agreements were implemented and we returned to campus. Some of those costs were able to be offset by lower levels of full-time employees. Let's see, how do we get rid of this? I think you can still see the slide there, okay. we had lower levels of full-time employees than originally planned, not by design, not because we were trying to save money, but just the reality of dealing with the job market. So every one of you out here who's had vacant positions and is trying to hire people, it just took us longer. So we did see a little bit of offset in the budget last year. Moving on to fiscal 23, as we continue to come back to campus even more fully than we did last year, we've begun to continue our path to financial stability and move towards a 2% operating margin by fiscal 25. The Board of Trustees met in June, and as part of their meeting at that time, they adopted the overall university budget for fiscal 23, including a $470 million budget for our campus. UMB's fiscal 23 budget is planned with a 0% operating margin. Recurring revenue is planned to continue to recover as we return to campus, and the amount of one-time revenues that we relied on for the last 2 fiscal years is decreasing. We have $8 million of one-time money in the budget this year compared to the $37 million last year. The Commonwealth continues to be a strong supporter of UMass Boston, with increased monies for collective bargaining and mental health for our students in the budget that was adopted in June. The proceeds for Dorchester Bay City are also built into the budget this year. The budget plans that the permitting for this project will be completed as scheduled by March of 2023. And when that deal closes, based on what's currently going through the Article 80 process, the university would stand to benefit $235 million from the transaction. This will allow for relief of debt service in our budget and allow us some money to begin to fund the university's campus master plan, which will be being finished this semester. For expenses, we have fully funded the collective bargaining, which has increased costs for the 2%, which was negotiated. And also last year, we've also included this year is full funding for the update of the PSU salary chart. Last year, the university and PSU worked very closely to be able to update a salary chart that had not been updated since 2007, for 15 years. So the parties worked together, came to agreement, and the university contributed over an investment of over $5 million to make all that work be a reality, so that now bargaining unit members can have salaries that are more aligned with the workplace. And as the university goes out and needs to hire new positions that have become vacant, we have salaries that more line up with the marketplace. So thank you for everyone who worked really hard on that to really take something that had been outstanding for 15 years and get it solved. As has been the case in previous years, we'll take a look at the budget after the first quarter. We'll see if there's any things that need to be adjusted. We're going to begin to align the budget with the strategic plan and identify some funding for some targeted investments as we get some of the implementation kicked off. The other thing that's really good news is that the state did something that I can't think that I've seen this much in my career as a public official, and that is they provided extra support to the university after the budget was adopted. So we are certainly very thankful regarding that. There's some additional money for financial aid and inflation to help with some of the increased costs we're seeing in the marketplace. And we'll be building that into the budget as we update for first quarter as well. They also expanded eligibility for the Mass Grant Plus financial aid program. This is a program that has existed from the state, but UMass has never been eligible for it, and they expanded it to include eligibility for UMass Boston, or University of Massachusetts in general. So John and his team are able to also begin to add this money to help support some of our neediest students. Last thing I just want to touch on briefly is the university's 5-year capital plan. We do have a session scheduled for October 6th at 12 o'clock, where we're going to talk for an hour about the capital plan. So if you are interested in this topic, open invitation. It's going to be here in the ballroom, also online. And we'll be talking about planning and capital projects of the university. But just briefly here, this year's capital plan is $173 million, mostly funded from the state and from the university, what we call local funds. We've got a number of projects in there. I put some up here on the screen. I'm not going to go over all of them, but we are funding the remaining of the SDQD project. That project continues. You can see it out in the quad here as we build the quad and get the plaza situated. So that's funded to continue this year. We're making some investments in the university's HVAC system. We're adding additional cooling towers to add more capacity. We're addressing reinvestment in the saltwater pump station, which is the main way we provide air conditioning here on campus. And then we're also investing in our athletic facilities. We've got renovations for the softball field scheduled, and the Clark building is also going to be updated to improve the locker rooms and some of the other facilities that we have in that building. $80 million of this plan is for deferred maintenance. That's about 65% of the overall plan during a 5-year period, so that's going to be one of our focuses. You can see the address for the website. If you want to go check out the budget, it's all there online for everyone to review. And with that, I'm going to turn this back to our Chancellor for some final concluding remarks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kathleen. Now we have time for questions. Meg Sullivan, our Vice Chancellor for Marketing and Engagement, and two of the members of her team, Wayne Lehman and Crystal Valencia, are in the room here to assist colleagues that have questions.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I was glad that we concluded the end of this with regard to focusing on our fiscal situation at the institution. Of course, our fiscal state is in fact our value statement. Chancellor, as you're aware, there's a crisis going on in the Africana Studies Department that has declined from 2017, when we had 7 full-time faculty members, to 1 today. There indeed has been turnover in our faculty in the department, but just as there's been turnover in the CLA Dean's office. And this year at graduation, Gareth, I'm very glad that you wore your robes or looked distinguished in those. And at graduation, the co-recipients of the Chancellor's Distinguished Service Award were presented, both of whom were from the Africana Studies Department, Professor Jones and Professor Vandermeer. I do have a question, however, too, in that the next month in July, Professor Jones received a new contract for his reward for service in the Africana Studies Department. And that new contract was a 25% increase in his workload and a 40% decrease in his salary. Chancellor, could you explain this? Could you explain this and our commitment to service beyond rhetoric? Our value statement is what we do. That was the contract presented.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I cannot comment on a personnel action matter. This is true in the University of Massachusetts system. It is true in university systems around the country. But let me make a point very, very clear here. Since my arrival, the first ever in the system Restorative Justice Commission, UMass Boston, the first ever in the University of Massachusetts system, a special assistant to the Chancellor for Black life. The first ever in the University of Massachusetts system establishment with my original funding, that has now more than tripled, the first ever in the system, George Floyd Scholarship. DEI training began this spring for some members of our senior leadership team, and this will continue this academic year as well as beyond. That is my response to the question. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question about the mission and vision statement. Because 12 years ago, I was one of the committee members to formulate the previous mission statement. And that mission statement, in at least 2 different places, there was a very firm commitment to rigorous, open, critical to strive for open and frank encounter. Now, this is very sorely missing from the current mission statement, where it just in the vision mentions very briefly that UMass Boston brings diverse people and ideas together. What I want is to make sure that the university is still committed to free inquiry and exchange of ideas, including controversial ideas and ideas that are not necessarily following the same lines with the official policy that you just presented.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The university is dedicated to the open and free exchange of ideas in the pursuit of truth, seeking truth, finding, and truth telling. This is central and at the core of a scholarly community that gathers with purpose to pursue the common good at very, very challenging times. Thank you.
Hello, I'm going to get to you next. I'm just going to read one that was submitted earlier because we did make a commitment to those who were submitting via the Chancellor's inbox that we would include those. 3 questions related to the Healy Library. When are you improving access to Healy Library? When are you fixing the elevators? And will a cafe return to Healy?
Kathleen, you want to take that?
Sure. So in terms of access to Healy Library, some of the access is tied up with the SDQD project, so we do have new stairs and an elevator as part of the scope of that project. That work is continuing. We do expect it to be open this academic year, so I think we'll have some more details around specific timelines when we get to October 6th in the session there. But that is part of the ongoing commitment of the university to provide access to the library. In terms of elevators, anybody who's been in the library, there's 4 elevators there. One of them we've had some challenges with. The university isn't immune to some of the things in the greater world where there's been supply chain issues and the like. We have Otis Elevator in here like every single day. They've been working diligently regarding the Healy Library. Due to the nature of the age of it, a lot of the parts are not readily available in the market. So they've been working on that. They've been testing it to make sure that it's going to be safe for the campus community. So we're working on that. We'll work with the library staff to get that back up and running. In the meantime, there's 3 other elevators in the building, so we encourage folks to take it, use those, and just know we're committed to getting this back up and running as soon as possible. Regarding the food, the pandemic and being away from campus has caused us to really look at how we're using our facilities. We have a number of places for food on campus: the food court, Beacon Cafe, ISC, which is right next to the library. We're piloting, we've got Farmer's Fridge out there if you want to check that out. That's something that potentially we can be looking at. So we'll be working with the library about some options longer term as we see how things return from the pandemic, look at some of the data that's available around usage on campus.
Thank you.
I promise you were next.
This question is actually directed to everyone sitting at the table and you, Chancellor, standing down. So I'm a student here, undergrad, currently paying something like $14,000, maybe $15,000 to go here. And I noticed that in one of the 5 key points, you guys mentioned that you're for the city. For maybe the past 2 or 3 years, I've heard rhetoric that speaks to diversity and inclusion, and being for the community that you serve. I question why this administration and faculty chooses to use those terms to describe their work, because from the perspective of a student, I don't feel very included in the processes that you have. generally feel like those terms are used as a cop-out to actually doing the work necessary to serve the community you say you serve. I'm from Boston, born and raised. I've never seen any of you in the community whatsoever. And I'd like to know why.
Thank you so much. Karen, do you want to address that question?
So
Do you
we
want to say
continue
anything?
to work with also doing students and bringing community into the community, meaning our on-campus community outside. We're going to continue with those programs and student leadership programs to promote that as well. You were specifically inquiring about us and living in the community. I personally live with the students of the community. I live at Harbor Point, and I want to be right in the midst of the student living experience, and that's what I chose personally. I continue to, as a new member of the cabinet, to promote that as well, and as I continue to work with the staff, that is one of the priorities that I'm going to take. And so I am in an experience of being right with the students as I actually literally walk back and forth with them every day. And obviously my colleagues will support all of the things that we are going to continue to do. And I encourage also the events that are coming up, talking about community and community experience. We have actually a community experience event for Family Weekend coming up, in which we come out to the community with students and staff and faculty to do building projects with the community this weekend coming up. So I encourage everybody also to participate in Family Weekend and the projects that we already have as initiatives to go to the community with the leaders and build relationships with not-for-profits and community agencies, grassroots movement community agencies.
Do you want to say something?
So, no, I'd like to respond also, thank you for your question and your comment. I mean, it is important that we hear from all of the community voices. There are many. One of the things that I have appreciated about being here at UMass Boston is how many of our faculty and staff here have been for a long time engaged in many, many ways in the community. I can speak to my own personal experiences from when I was the Dean of the College of Education and Human Development. The time that I personally spent in Dever Elementary School, in McCormick Middle School, out in the various high schools in Boston, and I was elevated by the work that was being done already by so many others prior to my arrival. It is some of the most rewarding and important work that we do. And it permeates across all of campus. We launched an award last year, the Provost Award for Community Engagement. And it was really difficult to only select one person. But again, whether it's working in the prisons, in the schools, in the clinics, professional development on the Boston Writing Project, there are many, many efforts. And we're embedded in the fabric of the communities that we serve in ways that no other university in Boston is. In a city that has more universities than any other, as Boston's public university, we provide that leadership. That doesn't mean we shouldn't continuously improve. In everything we do, we should be continuously improving. And we will continue to do that. We will build on our foundation, and we do need to hear from all of the voices so that we can reciprocally engage in many different ways. But it's up to all of us to find the best ways to do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
We have another question here from this committee beforehand. It's directed particularly to you, Chancellor. With shrinking demographics and more competition than ever, how do you foresee UMass Boston separating itself from the competition in a very competitive higher education field?
UMass Boston is so essential to the working of this city. If we did not have UMass Boston, we would have to invent it. In the 21st century, there is no city, not great urban center that does not need fundamentally the synergies that a public urban research university brings to the city and to our communities. I'm very proud of the extraordinary work of our team. Our Vice Chancellor, John Drew, in his presentation, outlined how, despite our current demographic winter, we have a rapidly aging population, below replacement fertility rates in the Commonwealth, and the only sector of the population that is growing are young families, immigrant origin families, families of color. And no high-income country in the history of the world has done what the Commonwealth needs to do now and moving forward. And that is ease the transition of this, the most diverse cohort of young people coming through our K-12 systems, to the family of the Commonwealth, to citizenship and to the practice of democratic citizenship, and to the deeply, deeply transformed labor market of the 21st century. So I believe deeply, and I have good reasons, that despite the demographic, despite the strong headwinds we are going to be facing moving forward, flowing from inflation, all kinds of challenges coming our way, that our undergraduate population will continue to grow. We're seeing increases, as the Vice Chancellor noted, in undergraduate applications. We are also seeing very significant increases in international applications, out-of-state applications, and transfer and graduate student applications. So UMass Boston is here to stay at a time when the future of so many comparable institutions around the country is so uncertain. The best is yet to come for us at Columbia Point.
I can take you right over here, Monica.
Good afternoon, Chancellor. Oh, I can't see you.
Let's sit over here. How's that work?
Hi, I know we've met. I'm Annette Argyris, and I'm rising today as the president of the Professional Staff Union. Thank you for holding this event in person. Thank you for leaving time for questions and discussion. We really value being back in the flesh so we can do that in a way that we could not do it online. And we're very pleased to hear about the new strategic plan, the revised vision and mission of the campus. We have heard from you directly for a few years about what I believe are deeply held sentiments and values of what
See. Let me say something, Annetta. Thank you so much for your question. Among the many firsts I talked about earlier, I'm the only chancellor in the system that worked every job in a public research university. I arrived in this country 50 years ago, escaping the fascist generals in Latin America, with $50 in my pocket. I went to night school. I went to community college. I transferred to that other great public university system in our country, the University of California, Berkeley. And Annetta, at Berkeley, I did every job. I worked as a janitor. I painted classrooms. I helped in the mechanic shop. So I want to be very clear. I honor the work of every one of our members. I honor the dignity that flows from a job well done. But trust me, I cleaned offices to get my doctorate, to get my undergraduate degree at Berkeley, my master's degree at Berkeley, my PhD. So I go back to yes. Thank you, Anita.
I think we have time for one more question, and okay. I can't hand you the microphone, but I'll hold it for you. I'm sorry, I know you just joined us.
So I'm just dealing with the quote from the banner about the construction that's going on campus. So to think that $3,800 of what I paid went into that, it's kind of shocking. Said recent UMass Boston graduate, Galicia Escofan, who works in the nonprofit sector. You would expect a state school to not put that burden on students. And these last question.
My name is Isabel. I'm a graduate student for Concord Resolution, and I just graduated with my BA in Labor Studies. My question is, what will you do so you don't, the buildings that you're building, the stuff that you're doing, is coming on us, so we don't have debt because of the school. So what should you do to stop that?
You want to take that, John? Thank you so much. I think student debt is a profound crisis. I testified before the legislature on this matter, but I'd like to turn it over to our Vice Chancellor to address your concerns. Thank you for the questions.
Oh, I guess I have a microphone, but
I
stepped up here. Thank you. Incredibly important question. There's no doubt the rising cost of higher ed is hitting everyone. It's one of the, when we talk about why we come and work at a campus, it's one of the reasons why I work here. This is an incredibly important place, and I think we're very committed to providing aid to students. A couple of pieces of information that I think are factual and are important to get out. We actually have the lowest cohort debt rate in the system compared to the rest of our UMass campuses. We're very proud of that. The amount of debt that our students carry is also lower in the system than any other UMass campus. That does not mean that we can't do better, and we shouldn't, and we're committed to absolutely doing it. We work very closely. We always provide a budget update. So much of the institution's funds are committed to providing an accessible education to students and to help make it affordable. So it's something we'll continue to work on, encourage individual students to work with us in the financial aid and the one-stop office to help make it work for you individually, because every student's situation is unique, but we're very much committed to providing our students access to education.
Thank you. And Chancellor, we'll turn it back to you for any final remarks.
Thank you so much. Last week, our new student trustee, Michael Dooley, gave a terrific report to his fellow members of the UMass Board of Trustees at the board's first meeting this fall. In commenting on the start of this fall 2022 semester here at UMass Boston, Michael noted that, quote, although we were in person last year, it feels different from a year ago. Over the past year, a great percentage of our campus population has received their COVID vaccinations and booster shots. Perhaps many members of our campus community feel more comfortable this fall, and our campus remains mask optional for those who wish to continue to mask up. End of quote. Thank you, our student trustee, Julie, for sharing your insights. I must say that I agree that our campus now feels different, and it feels different in a very, very positive sense. This fall, as opposed to last fall, and I so appreciate all that our students, faculty, and staff have done and continues to do to get us to a better place for UMass Boston. We have made real progress as a campus community, but we must also remain vigilant. As we continue to track COVID-19, we will continue to follow CDC guidelines as they apply to our local conditions, our local communities. And please know that our protocols may change accordingly. In a similar manner, please know that we continue to monitor the monkeypox virus, and we will follow the relevant guidance from health authorities. I also want to acknowledge the potential stigma that can be associated with this particular virus. I encourage us all, members of our campus community, to recognize the risk for stigma and discrimination related to monkeypox, and to stand together in support of any members of our community impacted by the virus. Speaking of supports, I sent out a message yesterday concerning the recent atrocities in Iran. I want to say again to our Iranian students, faculty, and staff, their friends, their families impacted by this brutal violence, our hearts go out to you at this very, very difficult time. Please know that our community of beacons stands in solidarity with you. Finally, a heartfelt sense of gratitude to each of you for everything you do in support of our students. As I said earlier, if we didn't have UMass Boston, we would have to invent it. We've gotten off to a good start this semester, thanks in large part to your efforts, to your work, to your heart. I look forward to seeing you more face to face, in the flesh. Annetta, is that how you put it? And I look forward to having periodic updates. We're going to have another campus-wide update later this fall. Thank you again. Stay safe. Go Beacons.